Let's look at the solutions of arithmetic bites for today. In a school, number of girls are 25% more than number of boys. In the annual test, 80% of the total students passed the exam. Had 28 more boys failed in the annual test, the percentage of boys who passed in the final test would have been 62.5%. Okay. Had 10 more girls failed in the final test, the percentage of girls who had passed the final test would have been 75%. What percentage of boys passed in the annual test? Now, this is one of those questions in which you get into equation forming. It is going to be extremely difficult. But if you work with the idea called indexing, it is going to be comparatively simpler. So let's say girls and boys. Girls and boys. I'm saying number of girls was 25% more than number of boys. So I'm saying let the boys be 400, girls be 500. If the boys are 400, girls are 25% more, so 500. And 80% of the total students passed the exam. So how many people passed? You can happily see 80% of 900 is 720 people passed the exam. This is total students. Now I'm saying the ones who passed, the ones who passed in these respective girls and boys, let that be A and B. Let that be A and B. I don't really care. Now we have been told had 28 more boys failed in the annual test, the percentage of boys who passed in the final test would have been 62.5%. I'm going forget this information right now. We'll take care of it later. At some point, you would have 62.5% of the boys passing. 62.5% of the boys passing is how much? 62.5 is 5 by 8. So 5 by 8 is 250 here. Okay. 250 boys would have passed. If we went down how much? 28 lower. If we went down 28 lower, but this 28 is not important right now because this 28 is dependent on actual numbers. I'm saying due to some reduction, it comes down to 250. Work with that much. Had 10 more girls failed in the final test, the percentage of girls who passed in the final test would have been 75%. So how many girls would have passed? 375. 75% of 500, 375 girls would have passed. So altogether, how many students would have passed? 625. So in this storyline, how many lesser kids are passing? 95 lesser kids are passing. But according to the actual storyline, how many more kids should have failed? Just 38 more. 38 more kids should have failed. So 95 here is representative of 38 actual kids. In our storyline, 95 is representative of 38 actual kids, which means to get to actual figures, all we need to do is multiply each of these numbers by 2 by 5, because the ratio here is 2 by 5. So what they've asked me, what is the percentage of boys passed in the annual test? So actual here 250 would have turned to 100, and this 100 was obtained by had 28 more boys failed. So actual passed will be 128 out of how many kids? 2 by 5 of 400 is 160. So the answer we need is 128 by 160 into 100, which should be equal to B, 80%. Next. An article is sold at a certain price. If it is sold at 75% of the original selling price, then there will be a loss of 12.5%. What is the percentage profit when the article is sold at the original selling price? So I'm saying let the original selling price be something. The article is sold at 75% of original. So if the original selling price is 4x, the discounted selling price is 3x, and this discounted selling price compared to cost price, because there is a loss of 12.5%, because there is a loss of which is 1/8, this discounted selling price is 7y, cost price is 8y. Discounted selling price we can work with, we get 21a here, we get 28a here, and we get 24a here. So for normal CP, the original selling price is giving me a profit of 4A, 1/6 of profit. 4a by 24a into 100. So the answer has to be 1 by 6 into 100. And again, this number is something we have to be familiar with, 16.66%. Next question. A garage owner bought petrol and diesel in the month of May and June. The cost of petrol and diesel increased by 37.5% and 26.66% respectively in the month of June. In the month of June, the garage owner bought 16 liters of petrol and 45 liters of diesel, such that the amount spent on buying petrol in the month of May was equal to the amount spent on buying petrol in the month of June. And the same was true for diesel as well. What was the total quantity of petrol and diesel bought by the garage owner in the month of May? Okay, so I'm going petrol, diesel. These percentages should give us clues. 37.5 is 3 by 8. So I'm saying if the price earlier was 8x, the new price will be 11x. Similarly, if the price if 26.66% is 4 by 15, 4 by 15. So if it was here 15y, now it should be equal to 19y. Now the question is telling me at this new price, the person has bought 16 liters of petrol. 8:11. If we have to make sure the expenditure remains same, the ratio of price should be the inverse ratio of quantity of petrol bought. Here, if the ratio is 8:11, here it should be 11:8. If this is 16, this should be 22. Earlier, 22 liters of petrol were being bought. Similarly, the question tells us at the new price, 45 liters of diesel were bought. The ratio of price here is 15:19. So the ratio of quantity bought should be 19:15. So this should be 57. Finally, the question asked me total quantity of petrol and diesel bought by the garage owner in the month of May. 22 plus 57. Answer to the question will be 79. Next question. The number of coins with Abhi and Vivek are in the ratio 13:19. Their common friend gave them equal number of coins, and now the ratio of coins with Abhi and Vivek comes out to be 8:11. What is the ratio of Vivek's new number of coins to his original number of coins? In such a case, what is interesting to notice, can you see, because both these numbers, originally the ratio was 13:19, because both of them have received equal number of coins, the gap between them is not changing. The difference between them remains the same. So I'm saying if Abhi initially had 13 coins and Vivek initially had 19 coins, these were the number of coins that they had. These were the number of coins. The gap between them is 6. But according to the new ratio, the gap between them is 3 only. I want to ensure that the gap between them remains 6 because the gap is not changing. So if the gap right now is 3 and I want the gap to be 6, all I have to do is multiply everything by 2. Now the gap here remains 6. He got 3 more. Nothing is changing and every condition of the question is met. What is the ratio of Vivek's new number of coins? 22 to his original number of coins, 19. The answer is option C, 22:19. Last question. Average marks of a certain number of students in a class is A. If a new student Abid joins the class, the average marks of the student increases to A plus 2. If we further include the marks of a new student Adarsh, the average marks of the class increases to A plus 4. What is the difference in marks of Abid and Adarsh? Again, you can make equations, tall equations for this, but the hint here is the question is theta, which means you can assume values for your convenience and the answer will remain the same. So I'm saying initially let there be 10 students and their average marks was 10. So the total would have been 100. Now when Abid joins, number of students becomes 11 and the average becomes A plus 2. Average becomes 12. So the total is now 32. So Abid has definitely scored 32 marks. Because of entry of Abid, total has risen by 32. If we further include the marks of new student Adarsh, new student has come in, Adarsh 12, the average marks of the class increases to A plus 4. So the new average is 14. So the total is 168. The increase is 36. So Adarsh has scored 36. What is the difference in marks of Abid and Adarsh? The difference is 4, which is the answer to this question. Hopefully you learned something from this sheet as well. That will be all. Okay, bye.